prepare for a golf tournament?
Well, I hit balls maybe 20 minutes, putt a little bit, smoke 4 or 5 cigarettes, drink 3 Diet Cokes, and go to the first tee. Some days I won't even go to the range.
There we go. It's Mr. John Daly. Welcome in. It's a Daily Puck Drop. Wednesday, April 9th. Welcome into the show. Sorry we're a couple minutes late, but here we are. We go live every single day. And again, it's another bad hair day. I mean, just what are we doing here? I mean, can we fix the hair here? I mean, it's all over the place. Oh, Lord. Here we go. Daily Puck Drop live on YouTube, on Twitter, of course, the Puck Sports mobile app. So if you're listening and watching this later and you go, I can listen to this live. Yeah, you can. On the Puck Sports mobile app, you can download it to your iPhone and your Android phone. Just go to the Google Play Store and also the iOS store as well. For those who are watching and listening to this live right now, we're up later. Every show goes out to YouTube and also to all the podcast platforms. We're on all of them. Just pick your favorite podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, whatever you choose. And, of course, you can find everything up at pucksports.com. Well, we've got the rundown today. Mariners with runners in scoring position, huh? It's just a rough one. And how about the strikeouts yesterday saying, hey, one thing that I've been encouraged about is they're not dead last in strikeouts. I haven't even updated it today. They probably are now. They were middle of the pack yesterday at 16. 19 strikeouts yesterday. Good Lord. Good gravy, man. And another one of those one-run games. So we'll get into that. We got a Masters preview coming up in a few minutes, actually. Travis Fulton, we've been talking about Travis here all week long as we continue our golf coverage and our majors coverage and our Masters coverage, all brought to you by Synthetic Turf Northwest, syntheticturfnorthwest.com. Hey, you're like me. You're tired of that muddy backyard? Reach out to our good friends at Synthetic Turf Northwest. They'll do custom synthetic lawns. You can put a putting green in like I put a putting green in there as well. But Travis Fulton will join us in a few minutes. A former analyst, golf instructor analyst at Golf Channel, now runs his own golf studio down in Florida, TravisFultonGolf.com. You can find him on YouTube, Travis Fulton Golf. He's from here. He's a Seattleite that has moved to the sunny state there of Florida. So he'll join us in a few minutes to talk Masters and get his prediction, what we're going to see here starting tomorrow. Also, Puck the Picker, the Majors pool is up. I got a few people wondering where can they sign up. Best way to do it is just go to pucksports.com. Pucksports.com. It takes you right to the sign-up page there to get into Puck the Picker Majors pool. Easy peasy. See, I'll share the screen right there. You see it at the top of the website. Go to the top there, Puck the Picker Majors Pool. Click Learn More, and there it is, Puck the Picker Majors Pool. So just go to pucksports.com to sign up. Get it in tonight. Get it in before you go to bed, before they tee it off there in the morning. No go-to guy again today, still under the weather. After spending Parents' Weekend in Pullman. Hopefully he'll be back soon. I think he'll be back on Friday. Rob Staton of SeahawksDraftBlog.com. He'll join us coming up at the bottom of the hour. Ryan Divish, our MLB Insider, will join us there as well. We'll get his thoughts on all things Mariners baseball. Of course, you know by now he's back in Havre, Montana, and he is working with his stepson and for his travel or his Legion Ball team. So he's not currently covering the team, but he still is our Major League Baseball insider. All right, we're broadcasting from the Limback Lumber Studios. Contractors, they're going to take care of you, folks. They got everything, free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects, largest stock moldings in the Northwest, old school service. They've been doing it since 1930. Give Limback Lumber a call, 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbacklumber.com. Follow the show on all the social media platforms, Puck Sports on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Puck_sports on TikTok. And again, find everything up, including Puck the Picker Majors Pool, how you can join the Pucks Posse, all of it up at pucksports.com. All right? We're going to take care of you because that's what we do here at Puck Sports. All right, we'll get a Masters preview momentarily. Again, with Travis Fulton from Travis Fulton Golf. He's going to come up and give you the very latest who you should start betting on there in the Masters. Let's quickly touch on the Mariners. Travis is going to give you probably a thought or two on the Mariners because he texts me a lot about a thought or two on the Mariners, which I thoroughly enjoy there from him. Runners in scoring position, again, just a problem with this team and has been a problem dating back to last year, has been a problem forever. And again, last night, 1 for 19 with runners in scoring position. They struck out 19 times, which is just an absurd amount of strikeouts. And something that we talk at great length with Divish today, and you'll hear it coming up at 11 o'clock with Divish, is the real theme of our conversation today. And it's a combination of both talent, versus execution with all these games that they're playing in. And again, talent plays a huge part in it. Execution late in games plays a part in it. You saw some great defensive plays last night. Ryan Bliss saving a run in extra innings, going off the bag at second base. You saw a fabulous double play turned by Dylan Moore in the extra innings, touching third and going to first. But you also saw him commit an error early in the game. What was it, seventh inning, which eventually led to a run for Houston. So this talent versus execution for this baseball team right now. It's a combo of both. I think we all agree, though, the biggest thing is talent. The lack of talent on this baseball team is why they are losing so many of these games. Go look at their schedule right now. I think they've only had one game this year. Somebody can fact check me on this one. One game this year in which they did not have a game decided by 3 runs or less. I think it was the second game of the year against the A's in which they lost 7-0. Everything else is 3 runs or less. Look at all the 1-run games they've been involved in. The track record right now is not good with 1-run games. And just, again, talent and execution in some of those 1-run games flips their entire record. 1 or 2 more hits with runners in scoring position. They win that game last night. Go look at the Giants series. 2 games decided by 1 run. Better execution, better talent. All of a sudden, you've just taken 2 out of 3 from one of the hottest teams in baseball. It's why we started off, I think, the first week in the season, and I wasn't just, up in arms and, they got the pitchforks out, because I know this is how they're going to play all year long. Just know it. They didn't do anything to really improve the baseball team. It's basically just the same team. And they're going to win games 2-1, 3-2, 4-3, and they're going to lose games the same manner. They're just not going to have these games, the one game in which they scored a bunch of runs, they gave up a ton. So I think if you just go into every night knowing this is the way they're going to play, it makes it easier. Not that much easier, but it is right now just a hard watch. It really is. The Mitch Garver ending double play in the 11th inning when all you need is a ball. Again, talent, execution. Mitch Garver's he falls under the execution part. He's been in the game too long. He just can't hit into a double play. Just get the ball to the outfield. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. Just get the ball to the outfield. And with Julio, speed is going to score. Just a lot of baffling plays last night. I don't understand the Jorge Polanco decision not to play him. If he was ready to play at some point, why didn't you start him? He's great numbers against Valdez. Why is he not in there? He's the only thing going for you offensively. Play him. The decision by Dan Wilson, to me, is the biggest head scratcher of the season. And I just really have not. There is no explanation why Andres Munoz did not pitch in the 9th inning. There's none. Someone's got to explain it to me. You used him in the 10th. There's no save situation now. Why would you not use your best pitcher in the top of the 9th inning? You had him up and throwing too. I mean, hell, even on the broadcast, they were questioning it. And if you're on the broadcast questioning it, there's a problem. So, and I don't think there was much of a, I didn't read, and I'm not saying it wasn't asked, I didn't read any explanation or see anything from Dan Wilson on that decision with Andres Munoz, which to me is just it's baffling. Baffling to me, and I'd love to hear just the thought process. There's got to be a thought process to it, so I'd love to hear the thought process. Victor Robles, just terrible news for him, out 12 weeks. That's the best case scenario, by the way, is 12 weeks, which takes you into July, takes you near the All-Star game. If he has to have surgery, he's done for the year. It's obvious. Well, it's obvious to me he's going to be out for more than 12 weeks because that's just the best case scenario. So it's a rough one. Again, talent, execution. They can't afford to lose guys like that. Can't afford to lose talented players. We'll get into something later. I don't know if people saw it. There was a group of kids at the game last night that we've got to touch on. But let's get to it. Where is you know what I need real quick before we bring them on? We got to play. Oh, it just doesn't get any better. Just doesn't. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk to our golf analyst. He's going to be joining us throughout the summer. Travis Fulton, former golf instructor, analyst for Golf Channel, now host of the Stripe Show podcast. Golf instructor at the Travis Fulton Golf Studio, travisfultongolf.com. Also on YouTube, Travis Fulton Golf. He's going to join us every Wednesday before a major. He's going to be here today to talk about the Masters, but we'll also be here every Wednesday before every single major. It's all brought to you by Synthetic Turf Northwest. You can visit syntheticturfnorthwest.com. Get a brand new turf backyard, a synthetic lawn that is wonderful. Your dogs are going to love it because it's pet friendly. No more mud. They're going to track into your house. Nothing. It's perfect. It's ideal. They put a putting green in, a 3-hole putting green. I haven't been better in my life at putting because of Synthetic Turf Northwest. They do it all. Synthetic lawn installation, custom turf installation, and of course golf here. They put in a golf green. Oh, the Masters. It's here. Let's get a Masters preview. Ladies and gentlemen from Florida, he joins us. It's Travis Fulton, again, former golf instructor of the Golf Channel, now host of the Stripe Show podcast. He is a huge Seattle sports fan. I wish you were at your home. You're in your studio.
I am.
Well, okay, but can you show all the Seahawks stuff that you have in there? You've got the best basement I've ever seen. How are you, Travis?
I'm good, Puck. Thanks for having me. This has been a long time coming. I'm a huge fan and been listening for many years. I was hoping Jim would have been on because, of course, the legendary Jim Moore. It's been fun to listen to him over the years, but I'm a fan of the show. Listen just about every day, so it's an honor to be on with you. And let me give you a little tour real quick here, just to show everybody.
This place, man.
But watch this here. So you'll notice
your basement or your garage.
This is my studio. So you'll notice the colors, right? Do you see the putting green? All right. Okay, now let's go around.
All Seahawks.
Yeah. See. So.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I'm sick.
No. This is, you don't understand. For many of us, that's heaven where you're at. You're in heaven.
Yeah, it's my colors are the exact tone of the Seahawks. I'm a diehard Seattle sports fan, as you mentioned. It's I don't tell many people now I'm a Mariners fan. It's reaching the point of embarrassment that you would just take ball contact at this point. Just make contact with the ball, and I think we would get excited. But it's a tough go with the Mariners. The Seahawks are back. It seems to establishing their identity again, and now we just need the Sonics back, and we're good to go.
Yeah. All right, let's. We want to talk golf. I mean, you and I could sit there and talk Mariners. We generally talk Mariners every night or text about it, but we could talk about that here for an hour. But let's get into the Masters. The 89th playing of the Masters will get underway tomorrow. Obviously, one of the biggest storylines going in is just going to be, and it's at every Masters until he does it, right, Travis?
Yeah.
Is going to be Rory McIlroy. Can he do it this year? Can he complete the career Grand Slam? And I can't, Travis, understanding this sport a little, how mental it is, you teaching it, you understand how mental the sport is. He's got all the tools to win there. But it's just, can he mentally conquer something that has been a roadblock in his career for so long?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's in many ways in golf, in particularly professional golf, it's just getting out of your own way. And that mental aspect is such a big part of it, especially when you have the scar tissue that Rory has at the Masters. I do genuinely believe he's going to do it at some point. I genuinely believe that. One of the things that when you look at the people that play well at Augusta, they're showing good form coming in. I think Rory is in really good form. right now. And I think this year, it could be the year that he does it. I certainly like him better this year than, say, a year or two past. He's dominant with the driver. I do think Rory's short game is much more versatile now, Puck, and the types of shots that he hits. I don't think he gets enough credit around the greens. And I think his putting has stabilized as well. He got the stigma of that, hey, he's not a very good putter, and he certainly has had his struggles. But I think Rory has stabilized the putter. I think he's much more dynamic around the greens. He certainly knows the golf course. I like his form coming in. This could be the year for Rory. If you had to give me to pick between Rory and Scheffler, I think I'd take McIlroy.
This is, and I think it's, for I think a lot of hardcore golf fans, Travis, and I think even for the casual golf fans, this is the story. I think all sports fans can rally around this one.
Mm-hmm.
This is the story. When you watch someone go through adversity in whatever sport it is, year after year after year, and then finally break through and win something. It reminds me of, if you're an old football fan, right, and kind of in your mid-40s, it's when John Elway was not winning any Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to 4 of them. They're losing every time. They're getting blown out. Finally goes and gets the monkey off the back. They beat the Green Bay Packers. I think even like longtime Seattleites like us, I know I was like, that's pretty cool. He's a great quarterback. It'd have been a shame he'd never win his entire career without winning one, and he did. And I feel that same way about Rory. He's one of the best golfers I think this sport has ever seen. It would be a tragedy if he never won this thing.
Yeah, he certainly feels like the kind of guy that deserves to be in that conversation of a Grand Slam, right? I mean, Rory McIlroy has had that kind of career. And I mean, he's won major championships and many of them to this point, but it's been a long time, over a decade now. So, time is adding up. The good news with Rory is he's still playing at an extremely high level right now. He's still winning PGA Tour tournaments. He's still winning the race to Dubai. I mean, he's still playing at such an incredible high level. Now it's just putting it together for 4 days, and the ball's got to bounce your way. I mean, the one thing about professional golf, you can't force it. You just cannot force it. It has to come to you. There is a little bit of luck involved, and the ball has to bounce your way. We've seen it at Augusta, over the years when, a player like a Danny Willett wins, when all of a sudden it's bad weather and Spieth falls apart and Willett wins. And then all of a sudden it's rain and cold and Zach Johnson gets a green jacket. So some things have to sometimes go your way. You get the feeling, though, if Rory has his A game, he's going to win.
They may know. I'm going to ask you about some other golfers here in a quick second, but I want to get your perspective on it, being a golf instructor. Mm-hmm. They may note about it on the broadcast last night on Live From, that he has switched to a softer ball, which spins more, and how much that has helped him this year and has helped other players who have used a similar ball. They both, because of their ball flight, they both mentioned. Brandel Chambly had mentioned Tiger Woods, and he'd mentioned Phil Mickelson. Just that softer ball flight, the more spin on it, will help, especially at a place like this. Why? Can you go in more detail why that would help him so much, and why has that helped him this year? Because he's won more than he ever has his entire career leading up to the Masters.
Well, I think the first thing, when you go to a softer ball and more spin, I mean, you have the luxury of doing that when you're cranking it out there at 180, 185 ball speed. I mean, you can sacrifice a little bit of distance off the tee. The ball spins more. I mean, spin is control in essence. And so you maybe get a little more spin off the tee. Rory can sacrifice some of that. Tiger certainly did it in his time. Tiger had, incredible speed as well. So there's a little more control there. But I think for Rory, it's probably not so much of that. It's probably more perhaps with his irons. I do think his approach game has improved. Now, whether that's the ball or whether it's because he's hitting more 3/4 types of knockdown shots, flighted shots, and he's not throwing it up in the air so much like we've seen with Rory with the wedges, and then he hits those poles. So I think his technique and his approach is better. And then that touch and feel around the greens, tends to, might be a good solution for him as well. And the reason why his short game could be so much better, and the touch that he has. I mean, that guy can rip the cover of it with his wedge around the greens and hit these perfect little nippers. It's fun to watch, but I think it's certainly more of a control thing, probably with his approach game, and then maybe even a little around the greens.
Obviously, the favorite of this thing, Travis, is going to be Scotty Scheffler. Now, for Scotty, he's not coming into the same form that he's came into last year and years before. He's just been a tad off. All these top players kind of feels like they've been a tad off, minus Rory. But this is a course because of everything that he can do. Right, he can hit every single shot, which it feels like you have to hit every single shot here. And Scotty Scheffler obviously has that in his bag.
Oh yeah, I mean he can do it all. He can, Scotty's is dominant off the tee. He's a wonderful iron player. You certainly, I think at Augusta, being able to throw those long irons up in the air, Scotty can do that. Rory can do that. I think the thing with Scotty, he's not quite there on all cylinders. His putter, I think, took for a good turn at Houston. I mean, he was +7 with his putter at Houston, and that's alarming if you're the rest of the field. If Scotty comes out and he's putting like that. But I think the one area to watch was Scotty. When he won his 2 green jackets, the dude was unbelievable around the greens. And again, with these big name players, we get caught up in Rory's swing. We get caught up in Scotty's footwork and his ability to throw it up into the stratosphere with a 4-iron, and it comes down and it lands like a pitching wedge. We get caught up in that, and we should. It's things that we can't do. But Scotty, when he won that green jacket, I'm telling you, was magic around the greens. Magic. We're talking dominant, positive 0.5 strokes gain around the green. Positive. I think he was positive like 6 or 7 when he won it the second time. His short game hasn't been quite as sharp. I think that's probably where I would look with Scotty. If his short game is like it has been that we've seen in years past, and that putter is remotely awake at all, Scotty will be a factor.
Who do you like this week? There's probably got several guys, but who would you circle heading into tomorrow?
I mean, those are the two obvious, right? The head-to-head. I mean, Rahm coming in from Live, I think, has showed good form on Live Golf. I mean, those are, I still think, the big 3. But I'll give you, let's talk a couple other names. I think Morikawa is ready. He's a major champion. He's figured out how to play this course. He's been around it enough now, which experience matters at Augusta. And it's easy to say that, well, experience matters everywhere, but there's a lot of courses on tour, Puck, where it's not as relevant as you think. But Augusta, it is. I mean, it is a major, major factor. You have to play that course to understand the nuance, in particularly into the greens. That's really where it gets you. It's tough putting on them. We know that, but it's really where to land it, the nuance into the greens and different pins. I think Morikawa has been around it enough. We know Morikawa can hit it. We know he's long enough. His iron game is elite. But I think he's shown more consistency and growth with his short game and putting. I think he's a more complete player now, which is maybe weird to say because he is one of the best players in the world. But when you're working on thin margins, Puck, like they do, I think he's gained now around the green and putting. I think he's more complete. And I've put some money on Morikawa to win.
Oh, nice. I like it.
Yeah.
What about Ludwig? I mean, everybody is waiting for that breakthrough victory from him, and it appears close. And he did have his opportunities. He was quite well last year, and he ranks right up there as one of the best golfers right now. But does he? You mentioned experience. Is that part of it though? Does he lack that true experience and that knowledge around the course to get it done, or Travis, does his talent just simply overshadow and outweigh that?
Well, I mean, his first time around last year, he finished second, so he did pretty well. So there are moments where you see guys hit it for the first time and they, things go their way. I think in saying that, I think Ludwig was in better form last year. He's just not in good form. There's, I don't know, call it a sophomore slump, call it what you want after. I mean, I know he won the Genesis, so it's hard to say that he's slumping. But I think on his standards, he missed the cut at the Players. He missed the cut at Valero. I think he is kind of struggling right now a little bit. And I think this is probably the most struggle I've seen from him since turning pro, in particularly around the greens. I think his short game needs some work. I think he's kind of searching a little bit on some of these low, medium types of shots that I think have turned into some silly bogeys. So I'm not as keen on Ludwig this year to win as I was, I think his play at this time last year coming in. And saying that, it's weird to say because he won the Genesis just back in February, but since then it's it's been a bit of a struggle.
What's the key stat you look at? I mean, can you look at something after day one and get a sense of it? You have to wait through 2 rounds, but what is the one that you will go back and look at and say, well, they won this tournament because they did this well?
Well, I mean, I think at Augusta, you can spray the ball at Augusta. It's not a course where you have to be playing from the fairway every single time. Now, you can get in trouble, there's no doubt, but you can spray the ball around and compete. And I think in saying that, it brings in players like Cam Smith, who's played well there, who struggles off the tee. He's not long and he can be crooked, but Cam Smith is brilliant around the greens and he's a brilliant putter. And if you can do that around Augusta, you can hold your head in there until Sunday. So I would look, the game of golf now is the number one stats approach. I mean, stroke scan approach is the number one stat in golf. It's, I've talked a lot about short game here because I think you have to elevate short game at Augusta because you are going to miss some greens and those shots are demanding. They are tough shots. You cannot fake it around Augusta with the shots that you're going to be facing when you miss a green. So I think approach, I think around the green, those are probably the top 2. I think obviously distance, Augusta can play very long. So length certainly plays an advantage here. But I don't think there's one stat after day one that I'm looking at and really pivoting one way or the other. But I think if you were to say building that model, I need approach. I need someone that can get it up and down around the greens and obviously have a decent putting week. But Augusta, you look at it, it's yielded guys that have played well here that are not historically great putters either, which is kind of funny to say. I mean, Sergio Garcia. Not a great putter. I mean, Will Zalatoris plays Augusta brilliantly, not a great putter. Yeah. So it's kind of unique and a head scratcher in that way. But man, your approach game's got to be on point.
All right. I want everyone to know we didn't do it this week because I was late to it. But what I want people to do as we continue to do this, and Travis will join us throughout the majors, is I want you folks, our listeners out there, and our audience, I should say, to send a video of your golf swing, and I want Travis to take a peek at it because that's what Travis does in that home beautiful studio. Hey, can I ask you something about this studio you have here? Can you lock the door so no one can come in? Because that's what I would do to my family. I'd lock the door. They would never, ever be able to come in to that studio. That is just beautiful, man.
You can just you can hit balls, and then Puck, you come over here and fall asleep on the couch.
Yeah.
Hey, hold on one second. Hold on one second.
Okay, this is perfect. I mean, this is just, you know what this is? This is golf house porn.
Here's my teaching stool. Look at
that. It's a Mariners teaching stool. Yeah. How about you bring some of them down there and teach them how to hit? I don't know.
God,
that'd be great.
I mean, everybody comes in and says, "Oh, you're a Mariners fan." I know.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah, they just struck out. I know.
They struck out one more time. I do want to give you some love. You got a great website. Tell everybody what you've been doing down there. Again, the website, TravisFultonGolf.com. You can follow Travis also on YouTube, Travis Fulton Golf. But a little bit about the website and how can people get in touch with you?
Well, I'm a teacher by trade. I've been doing it for 25 years. And as you mentioned, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. I was actually, hey, Puck, I was born in Pullman, Washington. So I know you'll appreciate it.
Were you really?
Yes, I was born in Pullman, Washington.
Oh, I didn't know that. God's country.
I know. I lived in Spokane when I was really young. But then I grew up in Kellogg, Idaho, over by Coeur d'Alene. That was where I went to high school. Went to college at Lewis and Clark State College, and then eventually moved, got out here in Florida, married a girl from Atlanta, and I've been here ever since. So it's just been like, all right, might as well build a place like this, a studio and be able to do things in here, all kinds. But yeah, teach, you can lessons, people come in, see me, work one-on-one. We can work long distance as well. I have some students actually in the Northwest that I work with long distance, but we do a lot of entertainment in here. It's fun to see people come in here, do a lot of group setting stuff, corporations rent it out. And we just have fun around the game of golf. Puck, which is absolutely booming, and Florida is the absolute mecca of golf. I can tell you that. Absolutely. And then again, he's got his YouTube show. You can follow him there at Travis Fulton Golf. Also, the Stripe Show podcast, where again you could probably find it anywhere you find your podcasts. Hey, one more name for the audience. Let's as a a bit of a as we reach down the board a little bit, right? I think there's 3 names that I'm ready for guys to take the next side. The one people want to know the live, right? What's live? What are they gonna do? Live, right?
Well, because I don't watch a second of it. And so, and not because it's not real golf. These courses they play on are not really tough, and it's like, so I don't know who's in good form. I have no idea who's playing well. But what do you got for me?
Well, I think in live, obviously Bryson's playing good. You know, one note about live, since the guys have went to live, their statistics in majors. There's only one guy that's improved since they've went to live, and that's Bryson. The rest of them have played worse in major championships. Yeah. Joaquin Niemann, though, I think is becoming the other side of that. He's won twice. Before Joaquin left, I was a big fan. I still am. He's a good guy. And is he ready to take the next step? He hasn't had a top 10 ever. I don't think a win is in play, but is Joaquin ready to take the next step? Okay. The other guy, Akshay Bhatia, huge fan. I think Akshay Bhatia is going to be a star on the PGA Tour. Lefty. We know Augusta, what it's done for left-handers. And I think the kid's dynamite. I really do. And so I sprinkled a little on Akshay. I did. I sprinkled a little bit on Akshay. And the other guy that my question is he ready? Is he ready to take the next step? Who's won a couple times? And that's Sepp Straka. I think Sepp Straka is underrated. Wow. And so those are some names that like you want to kind of venture off the household names of McIlroy, Scheffler, and you're like, God, give me something to chew on. Those are 3 names that I would that I'd throw out there. Maybe if you don't want to play them to win, throw them in there for a top 20 or something.
Love it, Travis. I look forward to this leading up to every major. Great stuff as always. Travis Fulton Golf. The website again, TravisFultonGolf.com. Host of the Stripe Show podcast. His appearances before every major brought to you by Synthetic Turf Northwest. Visit syntheticturfnorthwest.com. Appreciate it. Have fun watching it. I'm so jealous of that freaking studio you got.
Come see me.
Come
see me.
I'll be on the next flight down.
You got a room. You got a room. I'll take you golfing. We'll go play Sawgrass, right? I'll put you out there on 17.
Done. Okay. Be there tomorrow. There he is. See you, bud. Travis Fulton Golf. That was fun. That was great to have him on again. Travis Fulton Golf. He will do stuff virtually if you would like. Just go visit the website, Travis Fulton Golf. And big thanks to Travis for joining us. And big thanks to our sponsor, Synthetic Turf Northwest. Big thanks to them, syntheticturfnorthwest.com. Tired of that muddy backyard, cost of watering your lawn? Get Synthetic Turf Northwest to take care of you like they did in our backyard, ladies and gentlemen. We got it last year. Best decision we ever made. Look at that beautiful backyard. 3-hole putting green. No more mud. Dogs love it. I hit grounders to Owen. We take out the pins. I hit grounders to him. It's wonderful. So big thanks to Synthetic Turf Northwest, presenting sponsor of Travis Fulton and Puck to Picker Majors Pool and all of our golf coverage throughout the summer. A reminder, Puck to Picker Majors Pool, it's up. Season-long golf contest. Pick 2 golfers in every major. Masters, which starts tomorrow. PGA Championship, U.S. Open, and Open Championship. Every major 2 golfers. You can't have any repeat picks. So once you pick 2, they are done. Lowest cum score total is the winner. Again, first place is a one-night stay, 2 rounds of golf at Gamble Sands Resort. Twosome for that. Second place, a foursome at Fairwood Golf and Country Club. Third place, a foursome at Mill Creek Country Club. And fourth place is a foursome at Troon's Seattle Premier Courses, plus an hour-long top tracer range session at either Inter Bay, Jackson, or Bill Wright, which is formerly Jefferson Golf Course. All right, let's switch gears from golf to one of our favorite topics. Ladies and gentlemen, the NFL and the NFL draft. And here he is, Rob Staton, joins us from SeahawksDraftBlog.com. It's all brought to you by Superior Linen Service, family-owned and operated since 1926, committed to delivering the highest quality products and services to the greater Puget Sound area. Get your free quote today at suplinen.com or call 253-383-2636. Rob joins us right now, SeahawksDraftBlog.com, YouTube channel, Rob Staton Football. Follow him on X at Rob Staton. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hi, Puck. Yeah, not too bad. Looking forward to the draft. 2 weeks away now, so get in there.
And real quickly, Sweden, thumbs up, thumbs down?
There's not a great deal to do. but the weather was great. And I think if you're going to go for a long weekend, which is obviously easy for me in the UK because it's about an hour and a half on a plane. It's not so much. You wouldn't go for a weekend if you live in the States, but yeah, I think it's probably a 2 or 3 day thing.
2 weeks out. How do you feel? How you feel about the draft as we're 2 weeks away from it getting going?
Pretty much the same as I felt for a few weeks now. I think it is a draft that lacks, those sort of top end elite players, but there is some depth. There are some opportunities for the Seahawks. I think it is a good draft to have 5 picks in the top 100. I, increasingly think they will review their options to trade up in round 2. If they see a player or players that they like in that sort of 33 to 40 range, do they sacrifice one of their picks to move up and go and get somebody? And they've done this before, in round 2. They went and got Jaron Reed. They went and got DK Metcalf. They went and got Tyler Lockett in round 3. So those day 2 trades up is something they've done before to go and get somebody. So I do wonder a little bit whether, they take someone at 18, best player available, and then in them round 2, maybe they move up a few spots from 50 to go and target an individual in particular.
Let's say they do end up pulling off that trade. You got a sense of who they would target? How about for you? Who do you think? Who would you want if they moved up?
Wow, I mean that.
I know that's a loaded question.
There's about 20 players. I think the players that they might do it for are potentially Elijah Arroyo, the tight end from Miami, possibly Mason Taylor, who's having an official visit with the team, the LSU tight end, possibly one of these defensive tackles. Maybe somebody who can fill the void that Hankins has left because he hasn't re-signed. So that could be a Kenneth Grant, somebody like that. Maybe a quarterback, maybe an offensive lineman. It really depends who is there. But I genuinely believe that there is I think between 30 and, I'm just looking at the board now, 30 and about 45. And then there is a shelf and a slight dip in talent. So I think moving up from 50 wouldn't be the worst thing.
One thing that I talked with Danny Kelly, who joins me on Tuesdays from The Ringer, and we got a discussion, and I think I asked him, and I've probably asked you a similar question before. What would surprise you at 18, or what would not anger you, but like frustrate you at 18? And his answer was, what would surprise him and frustrate him, but he would learn to deal with it. It just the instant that it happened, he would be frustrated by him. Was at 18 if they were to select someone like Jackson Dart. Now he said, all right, I would be frustrated. It would be my initial reaction. I would then take a step back, pause, and then try to some way rationalize it. Which I then told Dan, he's like, that's the best way to tackle anything in life, and sports in particular. Is you overreact, and then you hit reverse and go, okay, maybe let me rethink it. I'll ask you a similar question. What would maybe surprise you or frustrate you? Would that be one? Would Jackson Dart be a surprise or a frustration to you?
It wouldn't be a surprise because I do think it's an option, And also, it wouldn't frustrate me because I think John Schneider has shown that he's very patient with quarterbacks. So if he decides this guy's a top 20 pick for us, I'd be excited more than frustrated. I'd think, wow, I'm now interested to see what this guy can do. I think that would create such a problematic dynamic, though, with the team, because then, the countdown for Jackson Dart to start, it's like I'm rhyming now, would be the day after he's been selected. It would be Sam Darnold is on a short leash and Jackson Dart comes in. And I just think that would be so difficult to manage for a second-year head coach. It'd be difficult for Sam Darnold to have to handle that, maybe even for Jackson Dart. So I'm not a huge fan of it, but if John Schneider thinks that Dart's good enough, then there's that. For me, there's not really any scenario. Now, having gone through all of the different sort of propositions and kind of gone back and forth on things, I think the only thing that would frustrate me would be a player that I don't like. So I'm now looking down the list.
I want your list. Can you just email me the players you don't like? I want that. I just before you find that, I has a great point you made up about Jackson Dart, and something I actually didn't even really think about initially was what would the reaction inside the locker room be? What would the reaction really with Sam Darnold be? I mean, we are in a business; it's a profession. I think all these guys understand that. But from Sam Darnold's perspective, hey, I came here, you've committed to me, and now all of a sudden you're just drafting my replacement. Similar. Now, they didn't commit as much money as the Falcons did, and ultimately the Falcons are going to make the right decision with selecting Michael Penix. But there was that immediate pressure right away that, hey, if he slips up, we're going to go right to Michael Penix. But I did say to Dan, I said, the one thing I guess that you can look at, tilt your head, and the positive would be, okay, Sam Darnold works out. Doesn't mean that you have to cut bait with him right away. Sam Darnold could be there for 2 years, 3 years, and Jackson Dart sits behind him and learns. And you've drafted a guy, if he is the guy, and let's say he pans out, and we all would agree with this. If he pans out to be a 10-year starter in the league, you just drafted your future quarterback. So I think we'd all sign up for that. But I think the point you bring up is certainly valid and makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, and I think you could definitely sort of work it around as long as you came out, well, immediately after the pick was made and explained that this is not with any idea of him playing early, that this is to give him the Jordan Love treatment, maybe to say that he's going to sit for a while and learn, and you're going to prepare him to start in the future, that you have no intention of playing him quickly. I think you can manage that situation a little bit better. I think the problem is when you sort of give any kind of hint that this guy could win the job immediately, and that's when it could get a little bit difficult. So the players that I'd frustrate me. I'm not a big fan of Tetairoa McMillan. I'm just.
Oh, you're not.
No, not really.
Why so?
Not for me. I just think that his sort of calling card, which is the high pointing and the getting his body into awkward positions. Yeah, that's all well and good, but I don't see a physical skill set that actually intrigues me enough to think I want to take this guy in the first round. I think he slouches through a lot of his routes. There were a number of games where he just didn't do anything. Where he just looked like he couldn't be arsed. The video of him sort of just very surly saying he doesn't watch tape was kind of a bit off-putting for me. I just think there are better receivers available, and I'm not a huge fan of them going receiver in round one. I think they might do, but I don't want to go with McMillan. I'd much rather go with some of the others if they're going to go down that road. And then, yeah, I don't like Mike Green. He can take a running jump for me.
Remind me who Mike Green is.
He's the edge rusher in Marshall. I mean, his tape's fair enough, but he's short. He's small. He's got short arms. He's got a couple of problematic sexual assault allegations hanging over his head.
Some of us that are short with short arms have made it in life. Okay,
not necessarily rushing the passer though.
Well, no.
Could you get me a sack?
No, I can't get you a sack. All right, so Mike Green, no. McMillan, no.
The other thing with Mike Green is he just bailed on the Senior Bowl. He just basically took off and left and didn't even tell Jim Nagy. So
I don't like that. I'm with you on that one. That's the guy. I remember him. Yeah, that just screams a lot of character issues to me. Who else is on the no Rob list?
Okay, I'm not a massive fan of taking Shamar Stewart just because of the lack of production. I wouldn't be excited by Nick Emanwari at all, really.
Okay.
I really don't want them to do something like take Aaron Ursary, but I don't see them doing that because they're very much a zone blocking team. So I don't think they would take him early and surprise everybody. I'm not against them taking Kenneth Grant in the right place, but I wouldn't want them to take him at 18. So as you can see, I've got a few players that I'm not crazy about, but I don't really like to think of the things that are going to frustrate me. I'd rather just let that happen and then be frustrated.
It's fair, right? We want to go in with a positive outlook, and we can deal with the negativity later. The probability, it's a high probability, right? We've talked a lot about Gray Zabel, and again, it's, over and over again. And I joked with Danny, and I'll joke here with you too. And we've talked so much about him. That's just something tells me he's not going to be there, nor they're going to take him. But let me just ask you, though. Do you think he will be there at 18? Or is there a chance that someone scoops him up before that?
I think it's probably a 50-50 because you look at the teams in front of Seattle. Miami definitely need offensive line. The problem with the Dolphins is it's a really weird situation where they need O-line, tackle and guard. They need a defensive tackle, and they need safety and cornerback really badly. So they've got 4 massive needs. Like we think Seattle's got problems. Like the Dolphins have got the same O-line problem, but then about 4 other positions as well. But it wouldn't be a total stunner if you went 13. The Colts have lost their center and their right guard. And the one thing that the Colts have done over the years is draft very explosive testers on their offensive line, and Gray Zabel was one of the more explosive testers. So again, they could be an option. Arizona feels like a very strong possibility. The Bengals are a possibility. So any of those teams could do it. I spoke to somebody who, I can't share his name, but if I was able to, you would understand, you would appreciate his opinion. I think you would respect his opinion. Okay. And he said Gray Zabel would not be a good use of a first round pick.
Really?
And there are some people who believe that. There are people out there, and I think if you go through the various big boards, I think if you went on Dane Brugler's one that he brought out this week, I think he's about 35th or something like that. Yeah. And there are other people who have him about 40th on their boards. And I think that is probably, I have to say, where most of the league are, that they kind of see him as the 35th to 40th best player in the draft. So you have to then determine whether you want to take that player 20 spots higher than maybe you've got him ranked and graded. So I think it's really in the balance there as to where he goes. If I was going to do a mock draft right now with you, Puck, I'd probably put him at 16 to the Cardinals. Okay. And just take that shot because I think he's good enough to go there. But I have heard those other things that say maybe it's a bit too soon for him.
So, yeah, so that's kind of the chatter then. The chatter would be that you're going to overdraft him.
I think that people may well overdraft because he tested very well and he is, A+ on the character thing. There's no concerns there. And some teams may well just say, we're going to plug him in at guard or center and just feel really good about it. So, and listen, that's going to be from where Arizona are, including Seattle and Denver and Pittsburgh and all these teams. This is not going to be a class where they're giddy with excitement at the options available. They're going to take a player that they think we can plug this guy in and start. There's going to be a lot of picks like that in this draft because it's not a glitzy, glamorous draft this year.
And I think a number of teams say this, Rob, right? It's always we need to draft the best player available and not overreach for like a position group that we need. I mean, a lot of teams say that all the time. It's kind of the standard talking points, and the Seahawks have said it themselves. Mike McDonald came out. But there is just kind of that yin and yang of it to a degree. It's like, yeah, you want to take the best player available, but sometimes like what's the internal debate between the best player available and the best player that you desperately need at that position? What's the gap? And then how do you justify maybe drafting that player that is the need, but maybe is not as good as the, quote, best player available?
Yeah, it was put to us when I had that conversation with the chap who I'm not going to mention, that every single assessment on every player was framed in this whether or not they were a starter. So what do you think of this player? Yeah, he's a starter. What do you think of that player? He's not a starter. He's a 2-down player. He can rotate. So I wouldn't take him until round 4. It was all framed that way. And that is how the league essentially grades, I think. And then there does have to be a degree of, we are grading for our team. And you'll hear John Schneider say that all of the time. Yeah. So if they have a player who is a 6'3" and a player who is a 6'3", but one is a left tackle and you already have a left tackle, and one is a defensive tackle and you don't have one of those, you're going to take the defensive tackle. So you grade accordingly to your team. But what you can't do is get into the trap which they had in 2019, which was Brian Burns would be great. Oh, he's gone at 16 to the Panthers. Rashawn Gary would be great. Oh, he's gone way earlier than everybody expected to the Packers because people thought he was going to last into range. What are we going to do? Because we've traded Frank Clark. We haven't got any pass rushers. If we don't take one here, we're going to miss out. Well, we'll take LJ Collier. And that's where you get into trouble. And I think because you have so many picks, and Mike Mayock made this point a few days ago, because the interior offensive line options are pretty good in day 2, you may just decide, well, we can just take the best player at 18, and then at 50 and 52, or at 82, or you might take 1 second and 1/3 to address that interior offensive line, and you might actually feel really good about that.
Because you and I both love these mock drafts, and I love reading all of them, and I don't even care if they're, I mean, most of them aren't right, but that's not the point. The point is I just like reading them. They're fun.
It's a bit of fun.
I just like people they're throwing out their ideas, and it's cool, and whatever, and then it's fun to agree to disagree on them. You posted up on your website, and again, one of the best websites ever. Go check it out, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. I mean, Rob does such just incredible work, so much detail in it, and of course, also Rob Staton Football there on YouTube. Chad Reuter's mock draft from NFL.com, and in round 1, I mean, you look at this initially, and people will see it and go, "Oh my God!" But okay, it's fine. It's a mock draft. He's got the Seahawks taking the local kid, Emeka Obuku, who's from Steilacoom, Ohio State kid in round 1, and then in round 2, he has the Seahawks trading up 15 spots, going from 50 to 35. To acquire Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers. And we've talked a lot about Quinn Ewers. And then in round 2, this other round, second round pick, he's got the cornerback from East Carolina, Siobhan Revel Jr., and then third round Cameron Williams, finally an offensive lineman. So they wait till third round to get Cameron Williams, the offensive lineman. Give me your thought on that mock draft in those first 2 picks.
Well, as someone who had previously mocked Egbuka to Seattle, I do think that is a possibility. Egbuka fits everything that they look for in a person and a player physically. He's the complete package. If you were going to say, what does a Seahawk look like, I would present you a picture of Emeka Egbuka. That's it. And people will say, oh, he's a slot only. Well, if I was, I made this point at another show a few days ago. If I was Ryan Day and I had Jeremiah Smith 1 year, and then Marvin Harrison Jr. the year before that, and Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jigba, I probably would put them outside and then have Egbuka in the slot as well. That's how you get the best out of those players. He can play outside. So I think I said this to you last week. I think that people should ready themselves for the possibility that Egbuka is Seattle's pick. He won't be the only option for them. I mean, they may just think, yeah, he's perfect for us in every way, but the fact he's like our 28th graded player, so we're not going to take him. But if he was graded in, like where Daniel Jeremiah says 17th or Mel Kiper 18th, they may take him. So that's the first thought on that. With Quinn Ewers, I mean, we talked so much about Ewers. I think he is one of the big stories of the draft because he is somebody who I can imagine someone taking in round 2, but he's also somebody who I can imagine lasting to round 4. He is somebody who probably has as big a vast range to go in this draft as anybody. He is, he was supposed to be the next big thing when he was in high school. He was going to be a Trevor Lawrence type player who goes first overall. He was going to be this unbelievable talent, and he showed it in flashes. And on the road for Texas, he played very well. And then there were some big games at home where he looked awful. And what is his future look like? And he is a big thing. But I do think there is a chance, as I said earlier, that the Seahawks are going to trade up for somebody. It's just a question of who, and it could be a quarterback. It doesn't have to be Ewers. I mean, I don't know if anybody watched Will Howard on on Gruden's quarterback camp this week. It's mind blowing. It's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen from a quarterback. What he did there, because John Gruden is a very stressful person to be around. When you are sat there and he's barking at you, right? And if it's a cover 2, so I want you to audible to this, and then now it's a cover 3. Now I want you audible to this play. Now give me a call. Now get up there and do this. And now I need to show me what you do in this situation. It's like, oh my word, John, will you just calm down? Like you've had too much coffee. Sit down. But Will Howard's there, and he handled it like a 20-year veteran. Like it was ridiculous. And again, somebody told me last week he's going to go in the second round. Someone might even move into the late first for him because he is freaking so pro-ready, it's unbelievable. Yeah. And he could be an option. But then there's all these other players. There's all these other players at different positions who they could take as well. So I do think they potentially will trade up. And it could be Quinn Ewers. And then you mentioned Savon Ravel, who if they draft him, that is going to drive everyone nuts because his name is spelt Chavon, but is pronounced Savon. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know why the H is there, but it is.
I don't know.
Odd. I like Ravel Jr. a lot. He's a perfect fit. He's so technically, he's very intelligent player. Listening to him speak is superb. Physical corner. Okay. He's like the opposite of Reek Woolen. And in his application and preparation and his aggressiveness and his physicality is all top notch. So I've been very happy with that. And then the thing I think interesting about this mock was that they then had the Seahawks waiting until round 3 and round 4 for offensive linemen, which I don't know if they're going to do that. I don't think they dare wait till round 3 to take an offensive lineman. Part of me wonders whether, at least by the end of round 2, they might have to take one. But I can see a situation where 82 is a lineman and that's their first lineman.
All right. Well, there'll be people walking down to protest if they wait to the 3rd round to grab offensive linemen. just be outside the facility. But that's what makes it fun. That makes all of it fun. Again, Rob Staton with us every week. It's all brought to you by Superior Linen Service. Big thanks to John and the crew over there. Family owned and operated since 1926. Committed to delivering the highest quality products and the service to the greater Puget Sound area. Get your free quote today, suplinen.com. Give them a call, 253-383-2636. Read all of Rob's work up at SeahawksDraftBlog.com. There is so much there. It would take me the rest of the show to promote every piece of work he's got up there. Trust me when I say no one has more work or greater detail than this guy up at SeahawksDraftBlog.com. And, of course, all of his video work up on YouTube. Just search Rob Staton Football. Thank you, as always, and we will talk to you next week, Rob.
Okay, see you next week.
There he is, Rob Staton. Rob Staton, again, brought to you by Superior Linen Service. Follow him on Twitter at Rob Staton. And, again, that YouTube channel, Rob Staton Football. We've got some, the breaking news is back. Breaking news show of record is back. Well, not really because it's late. And I don't know if it's really breaking news other than more bad news for the Mariners. They have selected Casey Lawrence from Tacoma. They have DFA Jesse Hahn. Leo Rivas is back, and you're like, well, why is he back? Well, because they got bad news. Ryan Bliss is on the 10-day IL, left bicep tear for Ryan Bliss. So that is another injury sustained for this baseball team that just cannot afford any injuries to their team. And I'll say this about Bliss. We talked a lot of offseason about Ryan Bliss. How it was such a risk to put him out there. His bat is what's going to be the thing that keeps him up at the majors. It's going to be his glove that's going to be the thing that it's going to drive you nuts. We went down there, watched spring training. It was unbelievable how good he was. And then in the games at second base, he's been a pleasant surprise. Yes, he sometimes will make the routine plays a little bit difficult, but highlight plays all over the place, including last night. He saved a run there, saved the game for the Mariners at that point. I mean, they obviously ended up losing, but ball bounced off second base, made a great play. So that is a crusher for this team that just cannot deal with all these injuries. For a team that is just walks the fine line every night in these one-run games, to lose him is, it's just brutal. It's brutal. And you've got two of your best base runners now out for an extended period of time because Ryan Bliss, when he gets on, is a problem on the base paths. He is. He causes havoc. He's one of the few guys that is aggressive enough to go first to third on balls, and it's just, it's terrible. Apparently, he talking to reporters. I'm just seeing where did I find Tim Booth, but just saying that it happened on the swing last night. I think it was in the first inning, and experienced it, played through the pain. He is scheduled to have another MRI, I believe. Had an MRI this morning, and so still waiting for the results. So terrible news there for the Mariners on the heels of the Robles thing. Ryan Bliss, Jorge Polanco. he's going to be a DH, but they're not playing him. He's certainly going to play third base. Now you're thrusting, obviously, Dylan Moore now into an everyday role in the situation you have there at first base. So news not good today for the Los Marineros. They got a day game today. The other Luis Castillo is going to be there. So we shall see how they respond this afternoon as they wrap up their series there with the Houston Astros. All right. So we talk to Ryan Divish every single week, our MLB Insider Ryan Divish, all brought to you by Chalet Bowl. He joins us every single week. He will continue to join us every single week throughout the baseball season. Again, brought to you by Chalet Bowl, located in Tacoma's historic Proctor District. They've been family-owned and operated for 40 years. You can check out their website at chaletbowl.com to book your next reservation. Experience the best in local fun. Divish and I record in the morning, so obviously we did not have the news that Ryan Bliss would be going on the IL. We did talk, though, a lot about their infield. And, again, this razor edge thin margin that they play. So many one-run games, so many games other than one that have been decided by 3 runs or less. We give you the edited version here of Ryan Divish, about 20 minutes. The entire show every single week with Divish is available for Puck's Posse members. You can sign up today. Easiest way to probably do it is to go to pucksports.com. Link at the top of the website will take you there. Again, $5 a month, not just for Divish. But again, we've got the Sports Pit there for Posse members. Dane Brugler, our NFL draft show with Dane. And again, it's just the overall support of Puck Sports and pucksports.com. So that full show available to members later this afternoon. But we always give you the abbreviated version with the man who is now the new head coach of the Legion Travel Ball team, the Havre North Stars.
Run losses are largely not just because of the offense, but they've had defensive miscues in all of them. Like take last night, Dylan Moore fields that ball in regulation. You don't go to extra innings. We've seen that a couple different times where they fail to make some defensive plays late in games, and it's cost them runs, and they don't win those close games. So we knew that the defense would be an issue based on a lot of different things, and it has been. And then now you remove an everyday player out of your lineup, and that has an impact as well. I mean, I'm watching these other teams, though, in the division. I'm thinking, they're still fine. I mean, honestly, like, look at the Astros last night. I mean, they're not great. The Rangers still have all kinds of pitching issues.
Pitching issues, but yet that's been the thing that actually has held them together. It's the offense. It's unbelievable. Yeah,
I don't know. They've won a bunch of close games too. Like Jack Leiter has been really amazing for them, which I didn't think he was very good. So, and then like Oakland, man, you go to that park, you get fixed offensively real quick. So, I thought Oakland would be a lot better this year, and they have been in a lot of ways. I just think that there's nobody that's really elite in the division. So just don't bury yourself in the first 2 months of the season, and you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. The problems, though, offensively, what we've seen the last few years have carried over, obviously, to this year. I mean, last night is one of the all-time highlights that I've been watching baseball. They were 1 for 19 with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, I mean that's
19 strikeouts.
Oh yeah, it was brutal. And to me, like, when Hader's ringing you up, that's different because it's Hader, and it's really difficult. But that the Gusto guy, or as Valley called him, Gusto.
Yeah.
You have to put the ball in play. I mean, like, and granted he has a lot of spin and it's harder to hit, but it's 93-mile-per-hour fastballs, and they weren't hitting them. He had 2 strikeouts late. They moved the runner over. Mastrobuoni did his job. He got the runner over into third base. All you had to do is get a ball in play, get it in the outfield. They couldn't do it, and that's a problem. The Hader strikeouts, he's really good. He's elite. I'll give him that. But they had opportunities before early in the game. The lefty breaking ball, the lefty off speed is like this team's kryptonite too. That Framber's always kind of, and Framber's mercurial. If you get him early, he'll, or if he doesn't get a call, he can kind of melt down mentally. But I don't know. I just, for as much as they preached about the approach to the big part of the park and stuff like that, they're still striking out at kind of a ridiculous rate. And it just seems like the guys that tend to strike out a little bit more seem to come up a lot with runners in scoring position.
But it's what can you put your finger on? Because I mean, last year all we talked about in the final 30 plus games that they had there with Dan Wilson, how much the approach was different. They preached it all off season, but it just seems like it's, in the first couple of weeks of the season, it's completely gone back to where they were before Dan Wilson took over and Edgar Martinez.
Well, it's a little hit or miss. I think there have been times where it looks pretty good, but at other times, that's the idea of it. These are professionals. They have their own agenda on a lot of the levels. I mean, they have their own hitting coaches. Edgar and Dan can preach all they want about it, but when it's up at the box, the last thing that these guys are worried about is, I don't want to piss off Edgar and Dan, or I might get benched. I mean, like, they're up there doing what they're going to do, and you enter their mind or whatever it is. I mean, like, I'd love to know what's going through Randy's mind when he's up there sometimes, because that guy is just, he cracks me up just watching him play. But, Dylan Moore, Luke Raley are going to strike out. That's part of their DNA. That's who they are. You can preach it all you want, but there is some swing and miss. Ryan Bliss, they've talked about his inability to hit the fastball. He's talked about his inability to hit the fastball. Teams know it. They're attacking him. He got into the one the other night, but consistently, can he put that ball in play, or is he going to swing and miss? Even like we've seen it with Julio the other night. They didn't walk him. When they bunted JP there, I thought, they're going to walk him. And they're like, no, Brian Abrave's going to go right at him. And, luckily for the Mariners, Polanco came through. What affects the Mariners hitting with runners in scoring position right now is that Polanco's not playing very much.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that hurts them a ton. And you watch his approach, though. He just puts the bat on the ball for the most part, and he puts it on the barrel. It's pretty simple. I thought, there's been instances, but like, you got 3 home runs out of Julio already. I mean, like, he's hitting the ball pretty consistently hard. He hit
the ball hard last night in the first inning. That was just a great play by the center fielder. Just made a great play.
And that's the one thing too, is like, people don't realize is like, one play early can change everything in the momentum of these games. We saw it in the Tigers series when they made a couple in the A series, where they made a couple plays early on some balls, and then all of a sudden that changes the whole kind of dynamic of what's going forward. I really liked, a lot of the things you saw from the offensive approach in San Francisco, but I think your lineup changes a lot with Robles out. I mean, it really does, because it's an everyday player, and everybody can say, this is a product of the roster construction. No team can really maybe the Dodgers, but you take away an everyday player that bats in your top of your order, no team has that waiting for them in AAA. Like, the idea of depth is kind of a myth unless you have the prospect sitting in AAA. You remember back in 2007 when they had Adam Jones just waiting there, and everybody knew he was an MLB player, and they were just kind of waiting and waiting. That's the idea of depth. I mean, like, you're not going out and signing a guy when he's not going to start. Like, no free agents signing here if they don't know that their playing time's locked in. So they lose Robles. They're bringing up Canzone, and they have Raley to slide in there. Though that's actually pretty decent. The problem is that what they're doing at third base and second base, and ostensibly even at first base, that's the issue. That's the greater issue. They didn't address those positions specifically with like MLB talent. I guess you could say with Polanco, but you also knew that there was a risk factor in injuries. But like second base, they've tried to fill from within the last few years. And then Solano is your guy you brought in as your main piece as a free agent. Well, he don't play a lot. He's still a role player. They didn't bring in an everyday guy to sit there at second base or third base and say, hey, we're going to play him every day here.
But the funny thing at second base is that all I ever was told, and not watching him in the minor leagues, was how bad Ryan Bliss was going to be at second base.
He's been great defensively.
He's been unbelievable. Maybe unbelievable is a little too strong, but he's been, that play he made last night where the ball ricochets off second base, he saved a run there. I mean,
he kept them in the game.
Yeah, and to me, he's been fine. Like
he's been fine defensively. The one thing, like, if you're watching though, it's like last night on the one double play when he bounced it when there should be no reason to bounce the ball, stuff like that. Or if you watch him,
the routine
stuff where he kind of looks like he gets mechanical or just kind of like, I wouldn't say tentative, but it's not certain. Whereas like the plays like last night where just go be an athlete, go be a baseball player and go make a play. He does fine. It's the routine stuff. But as we've seen, you miss the routine plays, that costs you games. And that's what's hurt them. I mean, you know, I think that's been the biggest issue is, you know, they're not hitting and that's sort of expected. But you got to make plays to offset that in the field. And they don't do that as much. And that's partially because the guys they put on the roster aren't, you know, necessarily great defensive players. Like when the Mariners had all that success in one-run games a few years ago under Service, they didn't make those kind of mistakes in the field. They made all the routine ones. And they had, you know, they had bullpen guys that could get strikeouts. They don't have that right now.
Yeah. They just, you know, back then they just played a much cleaner brand of baseball. What would you say to this idea? I mean, they do have a guy with Williamson in Tacoma at third base. Now, I think everyone would agree the glove would easily transition from AAA to the majors, but it's going to be the bat that's going to be the concern. I guess the smart asset in me would say, well, what does it matter if the bat's not good? I mean, none of the bats are good. If his glove is good, then put him over there at third base. I mean, how close do you think that they would be to making that decision of bringing him up?
I mean, he's hitting 268 in Tacoma. He's played in 10 games. I mean, like, hasn't struck out a ton. No walks. I mean, like, it's not power, but I think at some point they may have to, you know, a month from now, they may have to look at it if that's the case. And part of it is what are you seeing from Polanco? Is he going to end up being your full-time DH? Can he do that? You know, are you going to DH him more? And with Williamson, sometimes it's not about how, and I've said this before, but it's not like everybody says, well, if he just hits 150, the defense is so good. But it's how you get to the 150. If it's a 150 with a 35% strikeout rate, well, that's what you can't have that. You know, if it's 240, but he puts the ball in play and he's got a high OBP because he's working walks, okay, then, you know, he's not a power hitter. But if you get, you know, a decent average with a high OBP because he's a good base runner, then you're okay. But it's like if you're going to put him up there and he's going to strike out a ton and gets to 220 striking out that much, you can't have that because you already have guys that strike out quite a bit. You know, I mean, that's the thing is like, it's a mindset of trying to put the ball in play and sacrificing, you know, what your A swing is. If your A swing is like producing a higher level of contact, and that's the mindset you have to have. Some of these guys, it's clear. Like, I mean, like, look, you watch Randy when he's taking a daddy hack, he's going down to one knee and he's going to do that. You know what? He's afforded that right because he does put the ball in play. Okay. But yeah, I think that's the biggest issue is like, it's just when these opportunities with runners in scoring position are coming up and you're getting some strikeouts or you're just not getting quality contact.
Let's go back to the Robles injury. One, I mean, this is just devastating for this team. I mean, they just obviously they can't lose a guy like that offensively. What he sets the tone there, certainly at the top of their order. What 12 weeks is the best case scenario?
It's kind of the way the
best
math,
case.
Yeah, the math maps out. As somebody who dislocated his shoulder and I chipped off a piece of bone in my shoulder by like crack it. I chipped off a piece of bone. I didn't know it. Actually lodged into my shoulder and created this massive bone spur. And you know how I did that, right? I was at a.
Yeah,
what are you doing there?
I didn't touch anything. You got going on?
Sorry. Oh, it was my Spotify kicked on. It was Tony Corners just going. I don't know. Anyways, you know how
keep that in there.
You know how I did that, right? I was at a co-rec softball tournament.
Oh, smart, nice.
No, but I wasn't playing.
What did you do?
I fell off the bleachers with a bottle of Fireball and landed on my shoulder. Try explaining that to your doctor.
Yeah.
No, so like the crack
was that after the fact? Is that after when they asked you how many drinks do you have per week? 2.
Yeah. I didn't really even know. I dislocated it, and then as I rolled over, because I was half laughing, half crying, as I rolled over to get up, it popped back in, which was like pure relief. The next day was like agony.
It sounds miserable, but again, 12 weeks.
Yeah, that's
best case if he avoids surgery. If he has surgery, his season's over.
Yeah, because like what happens is like it's loose. the everything in there, once it dislocates, it gets loose, so it can come out a lot easier again. And this is a guy that plays like a total lunatic. So you're telling me you're gonna, he dives once wrong again, that thing pops out, you're done. I mean, like, guys will do it. Guys will sit there and play, and they'll come out and they'll put it back in, and then try and have the off-season surgery. It's his left arm. But, and the one thing is, he doesn't swing, his swing is a two-handed, more controlled, but it's always going to be there. So, I mean, 12 weeks if everything goes right. And that's a problem. And it's not just like what he brings on like the stats or whatever. It's the energy that he brings to the field on a daily basis. It's like before it was with Suarez or some of these other guys. The energy he brings and kind of that enthusiasm, that's lost on these guys, and it's going to be missed. And he's pretty good defensively, and he did a lot. And they don't have somebody that just fills that need. Like Dom Canzone and Luke Raley are fine. They're, Luke Raley's an above average major league player. Dom Canzone, basically on stats, is about a replacement level player. And that's okay. And teams teams have to deal with that. It's when you're not getting production at the other positions, when second base isn't consistent, when you don't know really what your third base position is. JP hasn't been great. His LBP has been good, but that's the problem. They don't have wiggle room for injury because their lineup isn't deep enough with talent.
What was funny? It was the before the game yesterday. In fact, I talked about this, that the one thing that they've been really poor is runners in scoring position. They're dead last in every category with that. The one positive, I was like, you know what though, there are two positives, and maybe it gets better. One was the walks; they're walking a lot.
Yeah.
And the other one was strikeouts. They were middle of Major League Baseball until yesterday.
Yeah.
They were middle of the pack in baseball. And I was just like, hey, I'm not having a parade about it, but at least they're not dead last, where they've been consistently. They were like 16th going into the game yesterday, and then they promptly strike out 19
Well,
times.
I mean, that's the thing about ratings. 12 games in, it can change. Just like Rafael Devers was like 0 for 16, and then he went 10 for 10.
Yeah, he's a pretty good hitter.
He went from 0 to 270 in like 4 games.
That's unbelievable.
It's this isn't to me, like, what we've seen from the offense. I don't think that's necessarily who it is completely. I thought basically that it would be better than it was last year on a lot of levels.
Yeah,
but some of that's based on personnel. Like having Robles in there was, he would reduce your strikeout percentage because he doesn't, he kind of battles, so he's out. And I thought, seeing Polanco hitting as well as he was, that would change the offensive math a little bit, but he's not playing consistently. So, now you're putting out guys with more of a strikeout tendency in your daily lineup. Like you look at that lineup yesterday, and our buddy Akita was just like, take the under 5.5 all day long, like under 6.5, because
we should bring back the bet M's under Summer.
I mean, like, or the first 5 under a lot of times if they're facing like a lefty starter.
Yeah.
But like, some of it's just, like I said, the timing of it all. I think the Giants will be a pretty decent team, but they just kind of ran into a buzzsaw that Elliot, I don't know how to say it. Elliot Ramos was just on fire. Like, you couldn't throw him anything. He was hitting it, and so,
and I guess if you want to be glass half full with that series, I mean, and again, we've talked about this so much though, and this is again, I'm not getting overly frustrated with them, even after the first week of the season, when people want to burn the boat, and listen, I get it too, and I understand it because it's been this way forever. I just went into the season, I think you and I even talked about this. I just went into the season knowing this is how they were going to win and knowing this is how they were going to lose games. If you look at the San Francisco series, tilt your head the other way, they take 2 out of 3 against them. And again, I know people don't want to hear that. And I don't even like saying it, but it's the reality. I mean, they lost an extra inning game, and then they lost, a game in the 9th inning, but which easily could have gone the other way for them.
The thing you have to look at, is it talent or execution that has been their biggest aspect in these defeats? It's some mixture of both on some level. But like you said, tilt your head sideways, you execute 4 plays, that's 4 victories,
Right.
Or, it really is. It's like you execute 4 plays, it's 4 victories. Or, look at all these 1-run games. say you get 2 hits with runners in scoring position, or even 2 less strikeouts with runners in scoring position, your outcome changes. And that's the problem. And it's a tough way to play on that margin. I think it wears on players knowing that. And you're already playing these games early, and you're just beating the shit out of your bullpen.
Oh, you're killing it. I mean, so I to answer your question, it's talent.
Yeah. Some of it is talent and some of it's execution. You have, because again, like, if Polanco is in the lineup 90% of the time, their hitting is a little bit better because he is swinging it well. Defensively though, are they worse if he's out there? I think that's they gambled a little bit on having him play third base, knowing it was a surgically repaired knee, and I think that's hurt him. Although apparently now it's his side issue too that they didn't know about. And I felt bad for the writers on that because Dan tells him it's his knee, and then Hollander says it's his side, and then like nobody wants to be wrong on that sort of stuff.
No, but it is very confusing what he is dealing with.
No, and
we just don't know. And then he's in and out of the lineup, so it begs the question: why was he not in the lineup yesterday? Was he in the lineup yesterday because of his knee, or is it the side issue?
Yeah, and then like they said he was available, but then he wasn't, obviously, and so it's like
there was a lot of weird things about Tuesday's game. Number one was that.
Yeah.
Was the whole okay, if he's healthy, why is he not in the lineup against a guy that he actually hits? Yeah. That's number one. Number two, someone's got to explain to me what Dan Wilson was thinking in the 9th inning, because I don't get it. You have your closer. It's the top of the 9th inning. That's when you use him. I don't. There is no debate on that.
Yeah.
And then he had him up, and then he didn't use him, and he uses him in the 10th inning. Like that, there is no rhyme or reason to that.
Because it was the top of the order too, wasn't it, for Santos?
Yeah, I don't get that. Like there's someone who's much smarter with baseball, like you or anyone else, has got to explain that to me.
Yeah, I don't know that Dan's going to explain it to you, though.
Well, he didn't really explain it. He just kind of said, well, this is kind of what we went with. I mean, he doesn't give you much in the postgame and whatever.
He doesn't give you a lot in the pregame either.
There just wasn't. I mean, I have just got to know why. I mean, coming up, he had Jeremy Pena, Rogers, and Diaz in that top of the 9th inning. But, I mean, everybody in that stadium, unless they're playing by a different set of rules, understands that you can win it in the bottom of the 9th. You use the guy there to win the game.
Well, there is no save situation for your closer in home after the 9th inning.
Right. And so why go to Carlos Vargas there?
I'll say this about Carlos Vargas. He's been a lot better than I thought, because I thought that guy sucked.
And he's got great hair. I love the hair.
And they're going to have to go get a reliever today. Poor Jesse Hahn, who actually pitched pretty damn well, is going to probably get sent down because
got a lot of movement on that ball.
Yeah.
That thing dances around a lot.
I don't, the one thing is like, and it's probably because Dan's feeling his way. He doesn't really explain his process or his thinking, and like, whereas Scott was super kind of open. Here's why we did it. This is what we were seeing. This is what the numbers told us. This is our belief. Like, you kind of knew, even, after years and years of Scott and how they did stuff, you knew how he was going to play his bullpen. He was going to use his guys for certain situations, and that's how it's going to be. Dan doesn't really communicate that right now. I mean, maybe he doesn't, and maybe that's just because like he doesn't feel like he should have to explain it. But at the same time, like what happens is like when people don't understand it, you probably should explain it, and that'll come with time, is my guess. Like Dan is not very verbose, and Scott wasn't either. But the longer he kept going, he got better at it. And he and I had several discussions about that. One time, just I told him one time, I was like, we know the answers to most of the questions we ask. We just need you to say it, because it's important that you explain it, not me explain it.
Maybe I turn my microphone on. It'll be good. Big thanks to Ryan Divish, who joins us every single week talking Mariners baseball. And again, that full episode with Divish will be available for Puck's Posse members. And you can go to the website, pucksports.com, and sign up there. And that will give you the full access. It is up there now, full access on the Pucks Posse page. Full 55 minutes there with Ryan Divish, our MLB Insider. Again, all brought to you by Chalet Bowl. Big thanks to Reggie and the crew there at Chalet Bowl. But the Mariners, just the same issue that they have been plaguing them for the last several years. Runners in scoring position, striking out too much, and a good chunk of that conversation. And we go into more detail, Divish and I do, and it's a great, the chicken or the egg. What comes first? Talent versus execution. And I think that's a combination of both, but what outweighs it? And I think we both agreed that it's the talent that outweighs the execution, and you're going to see it, and you have seen it. They've played a lot of close games. I don't think that the sky is falling, that they're terrible and all that. I mean, go back to the Giants series and just look at, they have more talent, one or two players, and you all of a sudden go from a series which you get swept in two games that could have easily been decided by one hit, one extra base hit. And now all of a sudden you've taken 2 or 3 from the Giants. That's where I think a lot of the frustration comes from all of us who are fans and want to see them succeed, because it truly does not feel that far away, especially within this division. No one I don't think is going to run away with this thing. Every team in this division is flawed, and they knew that going into the season, and they just simply, their reaction to that was, well, let's just run it back. And it's just not good enough. Not good enough. And now with all these injuries they're sustaining, Victor Robles is going to be out, until the All-Star break, probably longer, and will be lost for the season if he has to undergo surgery. Ryan Bliss going on the IL today. 10 days, doesn't it feel like it'll be longer than that? Got a tear in his bicep. I don't think he's back in 10 days. How long is he going to be out for? And he was playing well at second base. The ongoing health situation with Jorge Polanco. He's your hottest hitter right now, and for some reason you didn't run him out there last night. And your mixed signals on what the injury is. Is it his side that's bothering him? Is it the knee that's bothering him? It's clear that he's not going to go back to playing third base anymore. So now with the injuries, they've got holes all over the place. Who do they put at third? Who are they going to put at second now? The situation now at first base. Now you've got Luke Raley's going to be out in right field. They could not sustain stuff like this. This is why it goes back to talent. You acquire talent to withstand these type of injuries. They are not built to withstand any of this stuff. They just aren't. They're not built for it. They're not. And it's just going to catch up to them over time. As good as their pitching is, these injuries mounting is just going to catch up to them. Whenever Kirby comes back, and he should be back by the end of the month, there's just no assurances either that when Matt Brash come back and Troy Taylor come back, they're going to be 100% and ready to rock and roll. So a very frustrating start to the season here for the Los Marineros for sure. All right, let's go. Let's wrap it up here. We'll tie it into the Mariners on Hey What the Puck. And again, Hey What the Puck brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. They are your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when these damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, North Seattle franchise. There's a lot of kids in this area that love this baseball team. And they love baseball, and they love the Mariners. But if this organization doesn't give them something to love and a product to love, you're going to turn them away. And you're going to turn them away to other teams. You just will. And kids that I know who are obsessed with baseball, who are 11 and 12 years old, are just simply over them. They're over them, the losing and the frustration. They're like middle-aged men now, how they react. Maybe they get it from watching us, and I'm sure they probably do. But you're going to lose people, and you're going to lose a generation of kids that desperately want to see your team win if you don't figure it out. And you know what, these kids, these baseball-centric kids, you know what they don't care about? They don't care about the moose. They don't care about all the bobbleheads. They don't care about any of that stuff. And I'm not saying that stuff isn't cool. I'm not saying that I don't like the hydro races and the fish races and all that kind of stuff. There's an entertainment in that. That's not why they're there. They're there to watch, and that's not why they're tuning in. It's not why they have a baseball fantasy league. They're doing all that because they want them to win. And how people didn't see it, but last night they showed up on the Jumbotron, a group of kids that were sitting, I think it's in center field, right center field maybe, who had their shirts on and then painted. They had letters on the front that I don't actually know what said on the front, but when they got showed on the Jumbotron and they all turned around, these kids were probably in that age range that I'm talking about, all turned around, and they had different letters all on their backs, and it spelled "sell the team." That's what John Stanton and Chris Larson and Jerry DiPoto and Justin Hollander are staring at right now. You have a group of kids who you are trying to hook in so they are fans for life. And at 12 years old, they took it upon themselves to paint letters on the back of their shirts to go in center field to somehow, some way get on a Jumbotron, turn around, and read the message, "Sell the team." That's how bad it's gotten for them. And they got a major problem. They have a major problem. I mean, Divish already talking about tensions just around the organization, just all of it. And this is what happens when you lose. But boy, man, you start losing this, your future meal ticket, which is what they are. You want to hook them in, and so they keep coming back. This is no longer. This is a business problem now for them. So they better get it turned around fast. But what we're seeing right now is, I don't know, it can get turned around because, you know, the moves they made. I mean, they did this in the offseason. They did this to themselves. All right, that's Hey What the Puck, again brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when these damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Big thanks to everybody watching and tuning in today. Thank you to all our sponsors: Limback Lumber, Superior Linen Service, Synthetic Turf Northwest, Georgetown Brewery. Check out their new tavern beer, please, at georgetownbeer.com. Chalet Bowl, and of course, as always, restoration1.com. Today's Daily Puck Drop, find it up on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, please. Also find the Daily Puck Drop on your favorite podcast platforms and up at pucksports.com. When you're up at pucksports.com, lots of things there. One, sign up for Puck the Picker Majors Pool. You have until tomorrow morning to get it in. Don't miss out. All of our golf coverage brought to you by Synthetic Turf Northwest. Great prizes. No one's got better prizes than to sign up for the Puck the Picker Majors Pool. Go to pucksports.com. Grand prize is a trip for two with a night stay at Gamble Sands and a round of golf for two. And then the other prizes are fantastic. You got a foursome at Fairwood Country Club, a foursome at Mill Creek Country Club, and a foursome at one of Seattle Troon's premier golf courses. So go there for that. Also, at pucksports.com, sign up to be a Pucks Posse member. Get you the full Ryan Divish show, our new Sports Pit podcast with Steve Sandmeyer and Matt Stretch Johnson. And also it gives you Dane Brugler and our NFL Draft Countdown show with Dane from The Athletic, who just released The Beast today. Go get an Athletic subscription. Check out The Beast. It is the most interactive, in-depth analysis about the NFL Draft there with Dane Brugler. And, of course, joining Pucks Posse supports everything that we do here at Puck Sports, the Daily Puck Drop, and everything else. So go check it out at pucksports.com. All right. Oh, I feel like I missed something. Did I miss anything? I don't think I missed anything. All right. Tomorrow, one of the best days of the year, first round of the Masters. Wonderful. Big thanks to Travis Fulton joining us today. Travis Fulton Golf, by the way. Find him on YouTube, Stripe Show podcast from the Pacific Northwest, now living in Florida, golf instructor. People have asked, will he do virtual golf lessons? He will. TravisFultonGolf.com. All right, that's it. See you later. We'll talk to you tomorrow on a Thursday edition. As always, promise to be better.
No shoes, no dice.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for? We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!